The Rings of Sour. I mean, The Rings of Power from Amazon. And yes, I stole that from a viewer. Well, it's managed to pull off something that very few TV shows have ever done. And it's not in a good way. No. If you click this video thinking you're going to get a positive report on poor Amazon Prime's latest failure, well, this is not the Middle-earth video for you. For you see, folks, they have done something that is very difficult in a terrible, awful, Sauron-style way. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the place that continues to be like the Shire for those seeking truth and excellence in entertainment reporting. We're happy to do that for you, and we hope that you will be inclined to agree after watching a video such as this. If this is your first time on the channel, folks, consider clicking that subscribe button if you like what you see, and that like button, always appreciated as well. Let's bring on the panel, and we'll tell you without delay what it is that Rings of Power has managed to do that is frankly just about unprecedentedly, I had it right, bad. But speaking of, folks, things that people love that maybe should have been left alone, well, take a look at this. It is the Rings of Not Power. They have pulled off something over at Amazon that is truly rare and remarkable. Yes. This is something special. John Trent has uncovered this over at thatparkplace.com. Folks, if you're not yet bookmarked to the website, well, you should be. This is incredible. The Lord of the Rings, The Rings of Power Season 2, seemingly losing viewers already. Now, that is no surprise, right? Except that, well, they released 3 episodes simultaneous. So how would we know that they're losing viewers? We haven't had time to check that, surely. Oh, think again. The Lord of the Rings of Power Season 2 already appears to be losing viewers after a single episode, despite releasing the first 3 episodes at the same time. The number of IMDb reviews for the first episode of Season 2 and the 3rd episode decreased by over 50%. There are over 3,800 reviews for the first episode, Elven Kings Under the Sky. The 2nd episode only has 2,200 reviews, and the 3rd episode has just 1,800 reviews. Between the 1st and 2nd episodes, the number of reviews declined by 42%. Between the 1st and 3rd, it's a 52% decline. What that tends to indicate when you see this is there is a correlation between the viewership, the interest, and the number of people who were highly incentivized to go out there and give a review because of their enthusiasm. Eyes are either positive or negative. And when you have something that's being reviewed this poorly, and there are still little reviews, then it may be that we have moved into where Star Wars was, but is no more, and that is the apathy stage. Star Wars now, of course, is not in the apathy stage. Star Wars now is in the mockery stage, where people watch it just to make fun of it. Rings of Power may be approaching that rapidly now, where it's no longer even about nobody cares. It's now about, hey, let's go see the crazy show, the zany show, and see what they've done to our favorite franchise. This is an abomination to Tolkien, and it is extraordinarily rare that you see a bundled release of episodes where people don't even make it from the beginning to the end. I'll give you an example of this. When The Acolyte released, despite how bad it was, the 1st and 2nd episodes combined together to have pretty close to the same level of interest. It was after the 3rd episode, which was so terrible, where you saw the abysmal fall off, like jumping off the Grand Canyon. The 4th episode had no viewership. This is already occurring in Rings of Power from episode 1 to 2 and then to 3, despite them releasing on the same day. It is an amazing accomplishment, but it is no surprise to me. Is anyone here surprised that people simply couldn't make it through this?
Well, as somebody who is currently trying to make his way through these 3 episodes,
I'm so sorry.
Taken me
I'm so sorry,
several
Marvin.
days. It's so bad, bro. It's so bad. I mean, and I have to watch it because I have to review it. I just did a video this morning on this John Trent article because it's fantastic, and it's not even fun to make fun of at a certain point, just because it plays like somebody who decided to make a Lord of the Rings show, but all they've ever done is read Wikipedia articles about Lord of the Rings. They understand the names and the places in Tolkien. They have it's what we were talking about before. It's like it was made by AI because it has none of the heart and soul of Tolkien. And it's no wonder to me that people are dropping off, because it is a slog, especially releasing 3 episodes at once. It is a horrid slog to try to get through these.
I started watching it the other day just out of curiosity, and I usually, when I'm drawing and I'm doing my artwork, I have something on in the background that doesn't take a lot of thought, and just kind of keeps me a little bit occupied. But I have it on the background and I'm watching the show, and there are times where to say I enjoy it, like it's mildly amusing. But then when I remember that it's supposed to be works of Tolkien, and of course we're all really holding it up against Peter Jackson's creation. And so it just lacks. But I was on a podcast the other week, talking to the Dames and the Dorks, and well, specifically, I was talking to 300 Mirrors, and I was telling her, I said, I think I finally pieced together what it is about the Rings of Power that has this kind of nostalgia feel to it. And if you guys remember, back in, what was it, late 80s, early 90s, we had shows that were like Xena, Warrior Princess, and Hercules, and I am getting,
of course,
I'm getting vibes like that. And I was trying to explain to her where I was saying that, of course, when, like, I've heard several people say that the Rings of Power, it basically, it just kind of feels like generic fantasy, right? There's nothing spectacular about this show. It's easy watching, right? If you're not focusing on the lore. And that's what I was telling her. I said, I figured it out, is that this is a show that I can casually have on in the background. Doesn't have a deep plot, but it's just kind of mildly amusing just to have to watch on a rainy day. And if you remember with shows like Xena and Hercules, they were based off of Greek mythology, but they twisted Greek mythology to fit this new scenario. And I said, I wonder if this show would have come out 30 years ago, if we would be as upset. Of course, agenda aside, like that's of course a big part of it. We all know that they were really trying to push diversity in the show for whatever reason, but if you would take that out and just look at the Rings of Power, I think it's made in the wrong era. I think if this show would have come out 30, because if you think about the costumes and stuff like that, they're like vibrant and overly dramatized costumes. The acting is kind of stiff, but if this show would have been made in the 90s, I don't think it would have as big a problem as we have now, because back then it seemed like TV shows, we wanted it to be a little bit more unrealistic, right? Now we seem to be in the era where we want it to look and feel more real, the way that Lord of the Rings did. It was believable. The prosthetics that they have in Rings of Power for the ears drive me crazy. All the elves look more like humans than the humans do, and it's just plain. Like they're using all the special technology they have, but it's plain. I think that if this show would be airing alongside of like Xena and Hercules, or even Stargate SG-1, I don't think we would have as much a problem with it. Not saying that justifies it, but I'm like, I think that's what it is. It's almost like they're working off of old mentality. Which is sad.
I'm going to push back just a little bit on what you're saying here, because as a person who has watched Hercules recently, they're fun. Hercules and Xena are primarily fun shows, and they're meant to be. They're a little silly. There's a lot of jokes in there where it's like it would not make sense if the show were not being a little bit silly in that Sam Raimi style. Like if there was a narrator at the beginning of every episode trying to make it sound amazing and fun and romantic, I think that would improve these shows immeasurably. But I think they're trying too hard to remind everyone.
Sounds like fun. We can't have that anymore.
Right. They're trying to remind everyone of the Peter Jackson films, and there's a little bit of a melancholy in the Peter Jackson films. Like you have, which adds the contrast to the Shire, when there's this light music playing in the Shire and talking about food and fun and friends and fellowship and all these things, that you see that green, and it's a beautiful thing. And then you see the elves, and they're all very sad. And then you see the Black Death, everything of Mordor. Like there's so much contrast there, but there's nothing really joyful in these shows. I gave up after 3 episodes. I promised someone I would watch season 1, and eventually I will. Maybe I'll die and I'll be out of it. But one of my favorite things to do is take that opening crawl of an episode of Hercules, and it's big, and they've got this bombastic score, and I could heard in my mind, this is the story of a time long ago when
and then the
time
name
I love that.
credits under the handsome people, and their
exactly. And you got
Strength surpassed only by the power of his heart.
exactly. There would be Hercules.
If they did that with Rings of Power, I bet you it would be more fun because it would pull us back to the 90s.
Galadriel had a fierceness the world of Middle Earth had never known, a fierceness only surpassed by the power of her scowl. But here's the thing. I think things like Greek mythology, there's no modern day author that you can point to and say this is the creator of this, and we have that with Lord of the Rings. We have J.R.R. Tolkien, and he's so well respected and his work is so well respected, and the creators invoke his name constantly despite not understanding anything about him. So I don't think it's 100% a fair comparison to something like Hercules or Xena, because you're trying to say, well, this is the story you don't know, this is supposed to fit in with the books, it's supposed to fit in with the movies, and it's just got none of it. It's got none
and that
of
is the biggest problem, is the fact that they were so forceful in trying to say that this is the lore, this is the best ever, it's going to be the same as Peter Jackson's, it's going to be the best thing ever, and so much money went into advertising for that. That, I think, is what truly killed a lot of the potential this show may or may not. Like, I'm not saying it's good. Like, people don't please don't misunderstand. Like, this show, it has an identity crisis, like Wheel of Time. But don't even get me started on that. But that's what I'm saying. I think what it so I couldn't remember. I was like, or I couldn't pin it. I'm like, this show reminds me of the beloved cheesiness of the 90s, and that is what's sad, is because we are 30 years in the future. We should have better TV,
right? And it reminds you of that beloved cheesiness of the 90s, but it's completely unintentional on the part of the creators, which makes it even more laughable.
Problem. Yeah,
but get this, Tabitha, one season of the Rings of Power costs more than, I believe, all 3 of Peter Jackson's movies combined.
Exactly. And this is what's sad. This again, that's part of the problem, where it's like, what are they thinking?
And folks, we are at the end yet again. Another video of excellence in the can. And if you would like access to more exclusive content right here on the Pro Channel, consider becoming a member today. It is the price of a soda per month, and you'll gain access to all kinds of original content you just won't find anywhere else. Until the next time, folks, like, share, subscribe, and wherever you are and whatever you're doing, keep learning, keep growing, and of course, without doubt, never let them take it away from you, not even in the Mount of Doom itself. Keep having fun.